18th of December of last year, the family of a 15-year-old Caucasian male unfortunately were put in a position where they had to decide whether to turn their son's life support off or not. But unfortunately it was a decision that was inevitable, but thankfully when they did, they offered his organs for organ donation, and on the 19th his lungs were transplanted into me. So I've done a few of these now, so this is just sort of modified, hopefully to make it a bit more, I don't know, doctors speak, I guess you could say, but I mean, of course I am still a lay person despite the 50 or so odd hospital admissions I've had, even just to this hospital. So please forgive me if it's not all completely technical, but I'll certainly do my best. And yeah, as the doc said, you know, if you just put your hand up or whatever. But anyway, it's called the nuts and bolts. How the nuts and bolts fit the screws, because it's, as I said, it's aimed to hopefully be reasonably technical. So we'll go back to, I guess, when I was born, and of course I was born in the magical year of 1982 when, for whatever reason, the old PKU didn't have CF on it. The year beforehand it was, the testing for CF was funded by the National CF Association, and the following year the government finally picked it up. But 1982 just happened to be one of those grey areas that I'm sure we all know about, and so yeah, I just sort of slipped through the cracks along with a few other people that are about the same age as me. So really from about the time that I was on the breast, from the breast onwards until I was diagnosed at 5.5, I had you know, repeat infection, and I was on antibiotics sort of 6 out of 7 weeks, and really just generally didn't grow or gain any weight or whatever. But at the same time I had no real signs of actually having CF, apart from the fact that I would have, you know, one cough, say like once a month, which, you know, is not really indicative of being a sign of CF, is it? So at 5.5 I was finally diagnosed after Mum having spent years and years and thousands of dollars taking me to I don't know how many doctors and whatnot, but ultimately it was the clubbing of the fingers that actually was the giveaway sign. So I went for the sweat test, and sure enough, at least we finally had a diagnosis. So that was me at about, I think about 5 or 6. And as you can see, I'm already starting to get a bit of the whole opaque skin and that sort of thing, but at least I actually, having finally been diagnosed, I was on the pancreatic enzymes and finally able to start actually gaining some weight and growing a bit. So over the next sort of, I don't know, 5 or 7 years, I actually started to grow and gain weight, and I actually ended up quite a chubby little boy at about 11 or 12, as you can see there. And for that matter, I was so big at 12 years old that I played rugby for the Kauponga rugby team, and I was actually a prop forward of all things. Yeah. So go figure on that one. So this is probably the one and only photo I have of me in this hospital, at least anyway. This is when I was about 14 or 15, I think, back just down the hall there in good old Ward 2. Why did I put this one in here? That's the question. Well, yeah, I guess it's just to show one of the many times I was in here, and obviously it wasn't a great deal of fun, but you gritted and bared it, and you got through it. But as things went on, from about 12 or so, I started getting more and more frequent hospital admissions. I think it was sort of roughly once every year or so from about 12, and then when I got to about 18 or 19, it started becoming 6 monthly, and obviously after time went on, it became more and more frequent, and yeah, but thankfully I managed to keep good old Pseudomonas away until I was about 20, so hopefully that actually kept me going a little bit longer. So this was me at about 21 or so. As you can see, I'm about 48 kgs then, which, well, when you're 6 foot tall is, well, I mean, I don't think you particularly have to be too medical to work out the math on that one, that it doesn't quite work out, does it? I mean, this particular picture, I remember it being taken, and it was kind of a case of, I stood up, the picture was taken, and I literally fell back down again, because that's how weak I was. But this was after spending a month in hospital, some of it in ICU, after having quite a bad crash and needing to be on BiPAP for a few days, and thankfully managing to get a peg and a quarter cath inserted somewhere in the middle of all that, which ultimately certainly have helped, have gone a big way to keeping me alive and up until I actually had the transplant itself. And certainly the old peg helped put on a bit of weight. I mean, over the following 6 months, I actually put on about 25 kgs, which is, quite substantial. I mean, I was even then healthy enough to go and have a bit of a boys' holiday with one of my best mates over in Aussie 6 months after that. So that was a fairly remarkable comeback, that's for sure. So yeah, that's pretty much the same day. That's the 21st of December 2003. That's the day I'd come out of hospital after having that big crash, and I just sort of I was kind of that determined to get back out of the big hole that I'd fallen into. That, well, I had this new exercise bike that I'd ordered by mail order about a month or so beforehand, and it turned up in the mail while I was in hospital, and it quite literally spent me the whole day crawling around on the floor because I was hardly able to stand up, of course. But I managed to get it together, and managed to get on there for 30 seconds at least, and had a bit of a pin despite the lack of weight and energy, and yeah. But that's kind of as bad as things got at that point in time anyway. So if we fast forward a little bit to, this is actually May last year, and as it says, when BiPAP goes wrong, I've sort of been oxygen dependent for around about a year before this, and at this point I had to go on BiPAP permanently because I started getting CO2 retention, and so I needed it at night. But the thing was that when I was up in Auckland, having it being fitted for it and waiting, they had I think it was a junior doctor's strike at the time, which didn't help things, which meant they kind of wanted to push me out of there fairly quickly, so they ended up sending me home with the pressures set too high, which, well, didn't work out particularly great, and so I ended up back in there fairly quickly because my lungs just sort of went kind of, I guess you could say, it took some of the mucus that was kind of sitting in different places and just kind of pushed it in the wrong direction, and the lungs sort of went. So, yeah, as I say, I ended up back in there fairly quickly, but thankfully they got on top of it and didn't kick me out too quickly that time. So we fast forward again to August last year, and at this point I'm still on the BiPAP, of course, and I'm up to 3 litres of oxygen a day. As you see, the old complexion's not exactly looking too great, and you've got all this interesting stuff up here, which I think ultimately came from a little bit too much inhaled tobramycin. The lovely thing that it is, but it's just one of those things, unfortunately. So this is pretty much as bad as it got. I mean, as it says, bottom of the barrel. This time last year, sort of being about 55 kgs, 15% FEV1, so lung function, and